What's up, guys, and welcome back to the final part of the three-part series. I've just finished recording part 2. That'll go up, or it would have gone up the week before you watch this, and then part 3 will be out, going through my favorite 10 signings for each position or each area of the field on Football Manager 2022. Now, for those of you guys who are new to the channel, make sure you drop a like, make sure you drop a sub. The support is really, really appreciated. We're climbing towards that 200 sub mark, so if we can get there by the end of the year, that would be fantastic. Let's move into the video and my 10th favorite attacking player I've signed this year. So in at number 10 was a free agent. Now, obviously on this save, he signed for Lokomotiv Moscow, but at the time he was a free agent. I signed him with Luton Town in my first of a 10-year save at Luton. I signed him in on a free contract. He was on about 15 grand a week, and I came in and he scored 37 goals in the first league season. Now, unfortunately, at the end of the season, he got an injury that made it not worth renewing his contract, but he carried us into the Premier League. Him and Adam Ida up front together were just sensational. And for me, he's been one of the most underrated signings I've signed. Now, he's not quick. He's not going to be the player who's going to burst through pace. He's a lamppost, effectively. 6'4", 36 years old. He stands at the back post, and when your fullback whips the ball in, he nods it in. And for the Championship, you guys that have played a Championship save now, you need the grip between your teeth. You need the player who almost like a his name's gone to me. Glenn Murray. That's what, almost like a Glenn Murray of the Championship. Full, strong, win the ball in the air, get the ball into his feet, get strikers to play off of him, get crosses into the box, get set pieces into the box. He will score you goals. And it's the same with Graziano Pelle. For me, he's brilliant. The wage, again, you can negotiate that down. He might want a 2-year deal, and I do find he does slowly burn out towards the end of the season in terms of goals, in terms of picking up a few more knocks. But for 1 year, to get you up, if you've got the right foundation, you've got the right support behind him, get him in the door because you won't regret it. And it's a free deal as well. I believe it's actually the first free contract. But I had Ross Barkley whipping balls into him knocking the ball in. And do you know what? It was fantastic. And we got out of the Championship in 1 season. So can't moan. On to his strike partner for that Luton Town save. And it is Adam Ida. As I accidentally slipped up, I mentioned before. I signed him on loan from Norwich with the option to buy for 11.5 million. Obviously, when we went up, we signed him. I don't feel like Adam Ida got as many goals in the Championship as Graziano Pelle did. And I found that after 2 or 3 years in the Premier League, he slowly burned out. He wasn't good enough. But if you're a Championship team, you're looking for someone who you can buy and make money on, who's going to be good for you, get him in on loan at the very least. Doesn't play for Norwich. He's easily applicable to get in on loan. He's quick. He's strong. You know, all right, he leaves a lot to be desired in the mental aspect, but his teamwork and off the ball are great. His work rate's great, and his composure is good enough for a Championship level striker. So, if I'm honest, he's not going to be good enough in the Prem. He's not going to be good enough in any other top European league. But you're doing a Championship save. You need someone to come in and get the goals. Look no further than Adam Ida. He's cheap, he's cheerful, and you can sign him for a reasonable fee if you go up as well. On to third in this, well, technically not third. On to 8th in this list. Apologies for having to count backwards. Into number 8 on this list, and it is Andrea Belotti. Now, for those of you guys who watched my YouTube channel, the same channel, but before the videos went private about a year ago, I had Andrea Belotti for Roma, and he was absolutely sensational. Don't get me wrong, for someone with 14 composure, he probably misses more chances than he scores. But until he signs a new contract, he's a free agent at the end of the first season in Football Manager 2022. And next year, unless he signs for a club, which at the moment his club is undecided, he's still a free agent. So try him out. You're looking for a squad player, get him in the door. A friend of mine signed him for West Ham on a save, and he did really, really well. So, yeah, he's just a perfect budget striker, if I'm honest. He's not going to be the guy who's going to fire you into the Champions League, but he's going to be the guy who steps up in 3 or 4 games that helps get you to the points which fire you into the Champions League. And I think for me personally, it's such an important player, the striker role, to have someone who can come in and do a job. And I feel like in a two-man strike partnership, he's the best as well. In a 4-4-2, in a 4-2-2, in a 3-5-2, he will thrive. If you get the right player alongside him, he'll thrive. I'm sure most of you guys have signed him at some point this year, given the fact he's a free agent after the first season. But yeah, he's in at my number 8. In at number 7 is Herving Lozano. Now, I signed him for Leicester on a Football Manager save I did, and I absolutely loved him. He's quick, he's tall, he's quick, and he's clinical. One thing I noticed with him, his XG, the chances he creates from his XG versus the goals he scores, he outperforms his XG on the save I had him on. If I'm honest, he is quite expensive, but he's more developed and a lot further along the line than maybe some of the other options that you're going to look at. If I'm honest, I wouldn't go out of my way to recommend him unless you're at a Leicester, a West Ham, a club pushing for European football or pushing for Champions League football. If you can get enough money together, I'd bring him in. And if you're already one of those clubs, bring him in because you won't regret it. If you're a mid-table club, he's just out of your reach, but definitely accessible towards the end of his career for sure. And a very fun player to have as well. On to the next one on the list, and we have Nabeel Fakir. Now, I've loved Fakir on Football Manager for the last 3 or 4 years. He's one of my favourite players to sign. However, he costs an absolute crap ton. It says his valuation is 38 to 48 million. If I was to try and bid for him now, they'd be wanting 65, 70, 80 million plus. I've had him at Man United this year. I've had him at Spurs this year. I had him at Valencia this year. I had him at Barcelona this year. He's great, but if I'm honest, you can probably find better players for value for money. Given how expensive he is, his stats are amazing, but I don't think I've ever had him get above 15 goal contributions in a whole season in all competitions. Now, if you're in Europe and in a 38-game season league and going the distance in your domestic competitions, that's shit. Pardon my French, that's shit. And for a 28-year-old, you know, it's not like he's got his whole career ahead of him. You could probably find someone with the next stage down stats for pennies compared to what you're paying for him, who in the long term you can get the same output out of. So I wouldn't, if you want a fun signing, you want a creative signing, you want a unique signing, bring him in. Otherwise, I would steer clear personally. But again, one of my favorite players to sign this year. Next on the list is my favorite and only West Ham player that I actually like. He's probably my favorite non-Spurs player in the Premier League. I absolutely love watching Jared Bowen play. I think he's a fantastic player. I signed him on Football Manager a few times when he was at Hull, to other Championship clubs. I love him. If you're managing an English team, you need the homegrown quality. If you're a Leicester, you're a Spurs, you're an Arsenal, you're anyone on bridging that gap, you're a Brentford after a couple of years, you're one of those kind of teams, get him in. Especially, I'm saying this now, the last 2 times I've signed him, West Ham have been in the bottom 3 in January, and I bought him in for less than 25 million as a package deal. For me, he's worth every penny of that. He's brilliant. I love him in the shadow striker role. I don't play with a 10 anymore, but at the start of the year, I played with a 10 and he was fantastic. He's great on the right. He's great on the left. I played him in a 2-man striker partnership as well, and he's just brilliant. For me personally, whether you get him in as a squad player, whether you get him as a starter, get him in the door. I actually wanted Spurs to try and sign him before we bought in Kulusevski, because, as I say, he's probably my favourite player outside of Spurs in the Premier League. But yeah, good value for money. I feel like his output is good. He's got all stats in the right places. He's homegrown, and it pisses off West Ham fans. Can't really moan, unless you're a West Ham fan, in which case, no apology. On to the next one, and that is Erling Haaland. Now, obviously, David, is Erling Haaland, I know, but he's just amazing. He's just, you're not going to find a kinder striker for the value for money you're getting while he's at Dortmund, who's just going to blitz everything. He's world class, one of the best strikers on the game. maybe even second best just behind Mbappe. But for me, he's just... I had a season with him with Barcelona where he scored 78 goals in one calendar year, in one season, in all competitions. He was just... He scores everything. Left foot, right foot, headed, everything. Just everything. There's not anything this guy cannot do. Obviously, he's gone to Man City in real life. So if you do want to manage Erling Haaland, do it this year. Don't try and sign him next year unless you're managing City, and don't manage City on Football Manager. It's dead. But yeah, get him in and try him this year while you can. Just, as they say, different gravy. He is different gravy. He's just amazing. There are not enough words to describe just how good Erling Haaland is on Football Manager. You've probably seen it. He's just as good in real life. Let's move on. On to the next one, and we have Raspadori. Now, I got a funny story about Raspadori. So, the Napoli save I played last year, where I had, or the Arsenal Spurs save where I ended up at Napoli, where I had Ruben Neves and Pogba in midfield. They also had Raspadori. Now, bearing in mind, we're like 8 years in at this point, right? So he's 27, 28. In his prime years, I had no idea who he was. He was just... He's just incredible. I know he's a wonder kid and whatever else, but for me, I've loved signing him this year. I know Spurs were linked with him in real life, which I'll be getting a Raspadori Spurs show if we do sign him. But he's honestly, he's one of those players, right? So let's say you're managing Man United. Ronaldo's 37, 38. His contract's up at the end of the season. You sign him in the summer. You loan him back to Sassuolo for a year. When Ronaldo goes, he comes in, and I tell you what, he kills it for you. You know, you're looking at 20, 30 million pounds for him. He's just brilliant. He's just absolutely brilliant. You can play him off the left. If you're going to do that, play him as an inverted forward. You don't really want him crossing. An inside forward, rather. But as a striker, especially with two up top, as a striker, he's just absolutely brilliant. He comes on leaps and bounds. His potential is in the sort of top 10% of what his player's capable of. He's just absolutely a whole nother level. There's nothing this guy can't do. Even though he's 5'8", he still wins balls in the air. He still out strengthens and outpaces defenders. Can't really ask for more. On to number 2, and this is a player who actually, this Spurs save that I'm playing at the moment, is due to sign with me at the end of the season. Another player I accidentally discovered through that save last year where I played with Napoli while my mate was still at Arsenal. Inter Milan were selling this player because they'd signed him as a youngster and he hadn't lived up to it. I bought him in for £11 million and he became one of the best players I've ever used in Football Manager, and it is Amin Gori. As you can see, I'm signing him on my save. How much did I pay? Oh, it doesn't tell me. But I signed him on my save, and again, like Raspadori, he's best as a striker for me. He's quick, he's clinical. If you're a pressing team, whether you're 4-4-2, whether you're 4-2-3-1, you can train him as a shadow striker, which, you want my honest opinion, that's probably the best role for him personally. He's just brilliant. He's got acres and acres of growing room. He's still really young. He's really, really cheap. And yeah, there's no reason not to sign him. If you've never signed him before, try him. He's one of those players that, as I say, I discovered him accidentally. Didn't have a clue who he was until 2 years ago, and now he's one of my favourite players to sign on Football Manager. And he is only second to a player who used to play for Spurs, played for Spurs for a season under Jose Mourinho. I'll give you some clues if you can work out who it is. He left. He was at Spurs on loan, left and went to a club in Holland. Now, I did a unemployed save this year. No managerial experience, no qualifications, no nothing. Got a job in the fourth tier of Scotland or whatever it was. Worked my way up, won the division in Scotland 2 years in a row. Then moved to the Scottish Premiership. Left there at the end of my contract and went to Middlesbrough. I took Middlesbrough up first time of asking in the playoffs, kept them up, and then left at the end of my contract to join the club he's on loan at currently. After that, I went from there to Sevilla. I left after less than 30 days because they didn't get top four and all the players wanted to leave. went to Villa, left Villa after moving him from like 14th to 13th after 2 years, left Villa at the end of my contract, went to Leipzig and won every trophy bar one within 2 years, regardless of the point. So the player and the Dutch club I managed was PSV. The player was Carlos Vinicius. Oh my God. For me personally, you're not going to get a better value for money striker this year. He bagged in the Eredivisie for PSV. He bagged something like 47 goals in just the league. He was sensational. We crashed out the Europa League to Napoli. I actually tried, when I left there and went to Sevilla, I tried to sign him. They wouldn't sell him. When I left Sevilla and went to Aston Villa, he left. I tried to sign him again. They wouldn't sell him. My second season with Aston Villa, Brentford signed him. He killed it in the Premier League. And then when I went to Leipzig, I signed him. And for the first season, he scored the winning goal in the Europa League final and then got an assist off the bench in the Champions League final a year later. He's just incredible. I don't know what it is on him. He's 6'4". He's not particularly rapid. He's not agile. His shooting and his composure is great. His understanding of the game is great. His work rate is great. Vision's great. But you don't really look at him. There's a couple of green stats there. 16 finishing, 16 composure, 17 strength, 16 natural fitness. You don't look at that and say, oh my God, he's going to be sensational. But he just was. He was scoring. We beat Ajax with PSV. We knocked Man United out of the Europa League. It was just a whole different, like, I don't even know why he was so good. He was just sensational. I loved him. Obviously, he's on loan at Benfica. I don't know if he's signed permanently or not. Let me have a look at. Because I'd be interested to know whether or not he actually signed permanently. So he's still at PSV on loan, which is a bit of a pain. But next year, give it a year. Once his loan ends, sign him up. He'll be 27, 28 at that point. And I'm telling you, you won't regret it. I absolutely loved him. I regretted the fact that Spurs didn't sign him as a squad player when he left on loan, if I'm honest. But yeah, there's my top 10. Let me know what you think. Obviously, you've seen my top 10 defensive, top 10 midfield, top 10 attacking players. Let me know what you think about all of them. Let me know what you'd change about any of them. Let me know which video of those you liked. I've got a new Football Manager series coming soon. The new mic was part of that because I need a second mic. Now you'll see that very, very shortly. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you jump into my Fantasy Premier League as well. The code's in the description. My Twitch is also in the description. Make sure you follow that. I'll be going live over the course of the week. I haven't really got a schedule yet because I've got certain things going on, but I'll get a sort of more toned in schedule up sooner rather than later. Other than that, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. See you later.